You cannot separate yourself. You came in to my life.
Nice. That's right. That was all good.
You cannot separate yourself. And I found that around here in this city that I won't disappear. In this city I've got nothing to fear. In this city, and I found that around here in this city that I won't disappear. In this city I've got nothing to fear. In this city.
We shall propose further cooperative efforts between all the nations in weather prediction and eventually in weather control and eventually in weather control and eventually in weather control.
Gotta push it to the top of the building. Even when no one is feeling it might bother you, don't let it. These people just don't get it. They can't express it, they won't accept it. She said it's okay that they may never give you that. And I found that around here in this city that I won't disappear. In this city I've got nothing to fear. In this city, and I found that around here in this city that I won't disappear. In this city I've got nothing to fear. Down these roads, people pass through, some stay, some go. Standing here broke, not a penny to my name. She says she loves me all the same. I try my best, and you do too. And like you want something, you can move to. Everybody's gotta get their kick somewhere. Everybody's gotta fit in somewhere. There's an open road, and I'm traveling down, and nowhere to go. But I lock and load, shoot that sky to the moon explode. Moon explode. Now we're laying in the field like flowers on our backs. Talking about home, but we can't go back. I guess that's why we're left, so we can take a step. Keep moving and forget the rest.
S1, this is Weather Central. Request video signal at grid coordinates Coco.
An emergency situation has developed. In an orbiting space station 1,000 miles above the hurricane, a crewman sends a temporary picture back to Weather Central. The hurricane has stopped moving toward the coast, but is still intensifying. It must be made to move northward and out to sea. This is a crisis. This is a crisis. This is a crisis.
Seeding rockets on course 117.
The controller decides to fire cloud seeding rockets just ahead of the hurricane, hoping to start it moving.
Slowly the hurricane begins to shift. All available forces have been brought into play. Now we can only watch and wait.
Being beat up and battered around, being sent up but I've been shut down. You're the best thing that I've ever found. Handle me with care.
I'm John McKenzie. One of the most exciting developments in science today concerns the possibility that it may one day be possible to modify and perhaps even control weather and climate.
And how do you do the silver iodide?
Silver iodide is usually released in the form of a fine smoke produced by burning a silver iodide acetone solution in the manner that we show in our film. Here we see a burner mounted on the wing of a light airplane. You notice the burner is lit very much in the manner that it would be used in seeding a supercooled cloud.
Now, how do you apply this to an actual cloud?
The most dramatic and obvious case we can see in our picture here. This is one of the early pictures coming from the cloud seeding experiments. We're looking down on the top of a supercooled stratus cloud. We see a racetrack pattern of ice crystals. This pattern of crystals has resulted from flying an airplane around this track, dropping dry ice pellets. Wherever the dry ice fell through the supercooled cloud, it left behind a trail of ice crystals which grew into snowflakes and fell outward through the base of the cloud.
Was much rain produced in this experiment?
No. A supercooled stratus cloud of this form actually contains very little liquid water, so relatively unimportant amounts of snow would fall from it. However, the process itself has great importance. You see that it has cut a hole in the supercooled stratus. In this region, the visibilities are very much higher than they would be in the cloud itself. And this technique has application for, say, opening airports in the wintertime that may be fog-bound by supercooled fog and stratus. In fact, last winter, one of the commercial airlines used such a technique for landing many flights that could not have landed because of supercooled fog.
What is your feeling about these techniques as far as producing actual rain is concerned?
Well, it seems to me that there's considerable evidence that rain can be increased by the proper application of seeding techniques in certain specific cloud conditions. But generally speaking, we still know so little about the matter of cloud seeding that it's we just don't have proof beyond a shadow of doubt that you can increase the rainfall when and where you wish.
Might you also be able to decrease it in a cloud that's raining?
Oh yes, at least theoretically. If one introduced a very large number of ice particles into the cloud, each of the ice crystals may grow to such a slight extent that they would not fall through the cloud base, and we would have what we call overseeding of a cloud.
I see. Thank you very much, Dr. Brand.
Dr. Seamus talks now with Dr. Lewis J. Batten, Professor of Meteorology and Associate Director of the Institute for Atmospheric Physics.
Is it possible to alter or to modify thunderstorms in any respect?
This is a problem, as you could well imagine, that people have been concerned with for a great many years. In the last 20 years, we've learned something about the structure of thunderstorms, and this has led us to believe that it may be possible to somehow modify them, possibly someday to control them. The observations that we have in hand have been made mostly with balloons, radar, airplanes, and this allows you to construct a model of the vertical motion of the air in a thunderstorm.
Thank you very much, Dr. Batten. Now here's John McKenzie.
For most of us, weather control implies more than just producing rain or modifying thunderstorms. It suggests man-made control of large-scale weather systems such as cyclones and hurricanes. Dr. Jerome Spar, Director of Meteorological Research for the U.S. Weather Bureau.
The technique that has been used has been to fly an aircraft over the top of these tall clouds, as shown in the film, and to drop these canisters, which are being loaded on the airplane here, down into the cumulonimbus cloud. As they fall, they dispense silver iodide into the cloud, hopefully converting the water into ice crystals.
In the region that you mentioned.
In the region that we mentioned.
Dr. Spar, do you see any real prospect for progress in this area?
I think that we have to look forward to a long period of very active and rather expensive research in this field. A very important problem that has to be solved is the relation between the microphysics of the clouds and the dynamics of the large-scale weather systems such as cyclones. And we can only hope to modify large-scale systems if the cloud microphysics plays an important role in the dynamics of the storm. And this has yet to be demonstrated.
Thank you very much, Dr. Spar.
But the stakes are high and well worth the effort. It may be many years before man gains control of the weather, and he may never succeed. But it certainly won't be because he hasn't tried. But it certainly won't be because he hasn't tried. But it certainly won't be because he hasn't tried.